Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is the first time you have seen my channel, please kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, Samuel Sanwif. There are some days in a country's political life when everything comes together in one place. April 22nd, 2026 was one of those days in Nigeria. On that day, the Supreme Court of Nigeria sat in Abuja to hear a very important case involving the ADC. This case was between David Mark and Gobe, and it also involved INEC. Outside the courtroom, many people gathered, supporters, party members, and journalists all waited patiently. They were not just waiting for a legal decision. They were waiting for a critical about the future of the opposition and the 2027 election. To understand why this case is so important, we need to look at how it started. In September 2025, Goben went to the Federal High Court to challenge the leadership of the ADC. He argued that the leadership led by David Mark was not valid. This was surprising because Gombe himself had been a part of the party leadership before resigning in May 2025. This case was first handled by Justice Emeka Winter. At that stage, the court did not grant the urgent request Gombe asked for, but the matter did not end there. The case moved forward and the disagreement continues. David Mark's team then took the matter to the Court of Appeal. This argument was simple. They said the Court of Appeals should not even be involved in the issue because it was an internal matter of the party. In other words, they believe political parties should handle their own leadership problem without court interference. However, the Court of Appeal did not agree with them. In its decision on March 12, 2026, the court dismissed Mark's appeal. It also ordered all sides to maintain what is called the status quo. This means that nothing should change until the full case is decided. This decision had a serious consequences. INEC used it as the reason to remove the name of David Mark and his team from its official portal on April 1st, 2026. INEC also announced that it would not supervise any activities of ADC, including its national convention. This creates a major crisis inside the party. The ADC protested strongly. Members organized demonstrations, including marches to INEC offices. Despite the situation, the party still went ahead to hold its national convention. That event became a serious symbol of resistance, especially among opposition supporters. Because of this urgency of this matter, the case was taken to Supreme Court for a final decision. At the Supreme Court, the ADC lawyers present a very important argument. They said the case should never have been heard by any court in the first place. The argument is based on a law, Section 83 of the Electoral Act. According to the law, courts are not allowed to interfere in the internal affairs of political parties. This including issues like leadership dispute. The law also said that courts should not give temporary order in such case. If the Supreme Court agree with this argument, it will completely change the situation. It will mean that the earlier decision by the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal were made without proper authority. In simple terms, it will mean those counts handled a case that we are not supposed to handle. If that happens, INEC action of removing the ADC leadership will also lose its legal base. The ADC will then argue that its leadership was never legally removed. What makes the argument even stronger is that it is not coming from the ADC alone. The Nigeria Bar Association also spoke about this issue earlier in April 2026. The Nigeria Bar Association warned that courts should not interfere in party matters and said judges who ignore these rules could be reported to the authority. This shows that this issue is not just political, it is also a serious legal question about how the law should be applied in Nigeria. The Supreme Court now has to answer a key question. Should courts be involved in internal matters, party disputes, or should political parties resolve such issue themselves? If the court say no, the ADC position becomes very strong. The case could be dismissed entirely and also earlier ruling will be cancelled. But if the court said yes, then the case will continue. It would likely go back to the lowest court to decide who the real leader of the ADC are. At this same time, something else important was happening. The Supreme Court was also hearing case involving the PDP. This case were about the party's owners, leadership, problem and dispute over its convention. This means that on the same day, Nigeria two major opposition parties were both in court trying to settle internal issue. This situation shows how serious things are ahead of the 2027 election. Political parties need strong and clear leadership to organize their primary and choose candidates. Without that, they may struggle to compete effectively. Inside the courtroom, lawyers argued their position. Outside, supporters waited anxiously. Journalists stood ready to report every details. Everyone understood that the outcome would have a major impact on Nigeria's political futures. This case is not just about who leads the ADC. It is about how democracy works in Nigeria. It raises another question about the rules of the court in political matters. In simple terms, should judges decide who leads a political party, or should party members make the decision themselves? The answer will shape future political disputes in Nigeria. It will also influence how political parties prepare for election. For now, the country waits for the Supreme Court's decision. What do you think? Should courts stay out of party leadership issue, or should they step in where there is a dispute? Your answer helps define what kinds of democracy Nigeria we have moving forward. Thank you for watching my video.